So what we've got is, even though the sensor net says it's not collecting data, it is actually collecting data. So I want you to open your eyes and watch the three lines here. Okay? What happens to the brain activity when his eyes are open? See those the green, the blue, purple, and the red ones up here? When his eyes are open and he's looking around, what do you notice? Well, more spikes, but also lower frequencies. Okay, so close your eyes and relax for a second. Now see how it changes almost immediately. Okay? In fact, you're very sleepy. Because the purple one in the middle, what happens is when we have sensory information coming in causes noise. Okay? So noise is here. I want you to kind of stand up. Okay? I want you to turn around and then face those folks. Okay? Let's see. Uh-oh, your brain fell out. Oh, we lost it. There it goes. No, you're good. It just took the relay time's kind of slow. I'm not exactly sure why, but hey. Okay, so close your eyes again. So can you see? You can totally see when his eyes are open and closed. Okay, you can totally see the difference. Okay, so the way our brain works is 86 billion neurons, 86 billion cells. Each one sends electrical signals. Every single one is sending electrical signals. They're called neurons. Are they all intertangled? Are they all intertangled? Yes, excellent. Okay, so the more noise I shut off, well, that's the idea. The more noise I shut off, what happens is there's more, the brain waves synchronize. When brain waves synchronize, we see spikes at regular patterns. When the brain waves are not synchronous, we see noise. Now, move your arms around. Watch what happens when he moves his arms around. Actually, it's not too bad. Okay, when he moves his head around, there we go. When he moves his head around and his neck muscles go, you get things like this. What those are activities of, that's actually muscle electricity. Your muscles use electricity as well. So the brain activity comes out of your brain, activates the nerves, and the nerves cause the muscle contractions. Anybody ever had the stim before? I guess that's his eyes were open. Okay, so has anybody ever had stim where you put little pads on it, flexes the muscle, like for a pulled injury or something? Yeah, that's what they do, is they just put electrical current in the muscle, and it causes the muscle to contract. And when the muscle contracts, and then they let the muscle relax. Contract, relax, contract, relax. Okay, so now that he's in a good relaxed state, let's open up the software here. The software that comes with this is actually pretty cool. I think so. Well, even though it says status is okay, you're not Arthur. Arthur was the stone guy. Tuesday, Thursday, I got a new one. I'm going to add a user. Ryan, you said? Yeah. Okay, so now, even though it says the status is okay, it's not, it should, all these little dots should be green. It's making me nervous that they're not green. Even though, anyway, even though it's supposedly not, it's working, it's not really working. Okay, let's see if it, let me see. Signal's noisy. Signal's noisy. Okay. So what we're going to do is he can't see what's going on the screen. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to teach him his brain to do something. Okay? He's not going to do anything, but he has to think about something to do it. So what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes and just think of a nice relaxed scene. Just think of just nothing. Just think of nothing. Just relax. Nothing. Nothing good. Nothing. Nothing at all. Okay. So now, I want you to think about like doing a push-up, okay? So I want you to think about just pushing, like pushing away something with your arm. Don't move it, just push away. Push as hard as you can on something. Just think about push. Pushing. Push, 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 pushing. Got it. Good. Excellent pushing. So now I want you to think about pushing. Think hard. Relax. Push again. Push. Push. Bill Cosby. Sorry. Okay, I want you to push. Okay, so far so good. Can you think about, you're actually really good at this. The kid yesterday had a really hard time doing it without looking at it. Because as he was sitting here, let me go back and look at his brain. Because he's tired, he's not generating a lot of noise. The kid yesterday, he's 18, 19 years old, the kid yesterday was extremely nervous. His brain did not look like this. So it was really hard for him to train his brain. Because noise. Too much noise. So the computer couldn't figure out what he was thinking versus what was just noise from him being nervous. Like, and I said, close his eyes. He's like, yeah. Okay, it's like when someone's about to hit you in the face and they say, okay, close your eyes. You're like, yeah. Why would you do that? Because you're on Instagram. Okay, so now, excellent pushing. Okay, so now I'm going to give it second level. Okay, you ready? So whenever you think about pushing, it's going to click the mouse key. Okay, so push, think push really hard. You got it. Good. Okay, relax it. Nice. Push again. So, is he just watching it and doing it? No, because he's not looking at the screen. So it's actually measuring his brain. It's called a brain-machine interface. So now, here's the second part. And this is actually really hard. Let's see if you can do this. You have good brain activity, so we can see if you can do this. Stop pushing. Okay. Don't push. The umbilical cord is wrapped around. Okay. So let's rotate. Stop it. You shouldn't have had the mouse click. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to have you rotate it left. Okay? You don't know what we're looking at, so I don't want you to think about what you're looking at. I want you to like think about twisting a peanut butter jar or something. It's like twist. Okay? So think about twisting or just walking to the left. Just go to the left. Go to twisting to the left, tightening that jar so no one else can open it. Passive aggressiveness. Okay. So I really want you to concentrate on twisting that jar. Yeah. You can tell that you're actually doing it. Okay, stop. Stop twisting. There you go.
Like when you say stop, I just can't stop.
Hey, no, okay. So here's the annoying part. Is this take effort? Yes. You actually have to go. Okay, so think about pushing. Come on, you can do it. There you go. You got it. Oh, it's rotating. Come on, push. Think about doing like a push-up, or think about pushing with your hands, or pushing with your arms. The computer's saying, rotate! Think about pushing. Okay, so now, this is where it gets tricky. Here, stand up again. Here, sit around. You can sit, so you can see this. So notice when he's moving around, it said signal is noisy. Okay, so let's wait a second for it to collect back up here. Wait for it. There you go, almost. Look at your brain. All right. Okay, we're back. Okay, so now look at the cube. Now push it away. Think about pushing. That's rotating, right? So whenever you move your head and kind of wiggle around or smile too much, see that it says signals noisy? Okay, so now try to think about pushing. Why is it hard to do two different things? He was able to push it no problem before, but then he's able to rotate it no problem. So now that he has feedback, this is the same as little eyeball sensor on his brain. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the key press here. Yeah, I'm removing the training from that. Okay, so you can't push it anymore. So now push it now. Okay, I'm going to remove the keystroke from this. Okay, so you're no longer in control of the mouse. So what we're going to do, we're going to work on this one. Okay? So this is the standard avatar. Now, it's again, we don't have a good signal. I'm not sure why the scanner's not giving us a good signal right now. But what we can do is, so smile. There you go. So I'm going to take the smile now and turn it as the mouse click. Okay, so smile. There you go. Good. I'm going to turn up the sensitivity a bit. So just think about smiling. You actually smile. There you go. Okay, so try it again. There you go. Good. I think you're catching on. Okay, so now this is the part where you take over my computer. Okay? Can you minimize this window? Okay, quick clicking. Don't close it. That's what he did. The kid did that last time. Minimize it. There you go. Now smile to click. Extremely frustrating. Again, I'm not sure why we have the sensors aren't quite working very well. Notice his brain activity. Here, stop moving. Stop moving it. Stop it. Stop moving. Really frustrating. Okay, I'm gonna go back here real quick. Hello.
Blanchard.
All right. Quit it. Let's see. I need to go to this control panel, and I'm gonna hit deactivate. Quit it. Control Shift M. Haha. Okay. So now you're not in control of the mouse for a second. So I'm gonna go here. You ever played this game before?
No.
Okay. Perfect. Wait for it. It's obviously extremely important at this point. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. I'm going to hit activate. Okay, so your job is to drive around, see if you can click on play. You got to smile to click. You can do it. Come on. Okay. Okay. Your job is to move the mouse around and don't run into anything. If you smile, you go faster. Little laggy. You got to move the mouse down and you'll go side. There you go. You're supposed to eat those dots. Every dot that you eat, you get bigger. If someone runs into you, you can eat their dead carcass and get bigger. Okay, move the mouse down so you can go down. There you go. So now, try to smile to try to get going. If you smile, you get a little burst of speed. Don't die for a second. Let me make sure that the expressive speed is working. Smile. Big smile. Over-exaggerated. You're still alive. Okay. Big smile. Doesn't like your smile. Okay, so drive it around, try to stay alive. Again, the signal's a little buggy. So, how is he playing? You got to find the mouse. You move the mouse to the center of the screen so you can find it. There you are. Oh, don't run into him. It gets stressful. Oh, it's awesome. Okay, so the gentleman yesterday got to... Ooh, get those big guys. The gentleman yesterday got to 740. You got it. You smile. Did you speed up when you smiled? Try it again. Try a big smile. It was working good before. Oh, hey. Uh-oh. He's going to kill you. Oh, nice dodge. Nice work. He's going to turn. Okay. There's kids in middle school science playing this right now. You sped up a little bit there. Did you see that? He's coming after you. Okay, this is extremely stressful because how is he controlling this thing? Sort of. He's actually, it's actually measuring the movement of his head is what navigates the mouse around. How come I don't tell him that at the beginning? Careful. Okay, so it's really important use of the digital theater, Sway Slither on 20-foot long screen. Anyway, but what's interesting is that even though I don't tell him exactly how it works, does he figure it out very quickly? And what the machine is doing is as the machine is going, ooh, get that big guy. Ooh, yeah. Okay, what's your score so far? You're getting there. But as the longer he sits and wears this thing, the machine listens to his brain. And as the machine listens to his brain, he's going to kill you, by the way. But as the machine listens to his brain, it also learns. It's learning his thoughts, sort of. So we're going to go, when we talk about the brain here in a few minutes, and we'll start diagramming the parts, I want you to pay attention to where most of the sensors are. Most of the sensors on this thing are up in the front. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 channels right in the front. Because this is where, anybody know what the frontal lobe does? Somebody did it. So he's catching on pretty quickly, and he's starting to get a little bit cocky, so why don't you go kill somebody? Because I'm getting really bored, because you're really slow at this game. But the cool thing is he's playing the game. Oh, sorry, I missed it. Okay. So he's playing the game by, is he thinking? If you play the game by thinking about what you want the mouse to do, not what you want your body to do. Okay, so put your hands out like this. I'm going to take this off. And then, yeah. How many actually stayed in? 2. Okay, so let me help me find all these things. Okay. All right. All right, that's cool. So you can go sit down. That's awesome. No light goes stuck in your hair or anything. Okay, good. Good. One more. Did you ask him afterwards? Yeah. So when we put his brain up there, oh, do I have him saved? I might be able to find. Yeah, I did record it, but I didn't record it as it was going. Him as it was going. Okay, but. What I did is, okay, so remember his brain waves started putting those even spikes when he closed his eyes. So, I saw his name on there, but I can't remember what it is now. What? Arthur. Arthur's brain went and had a huge spike that went straight across, and then for like 3 seconds, it was like, and then back to normal. I'm like, whoa! And I'm watching it, and I say, close your eyes. So what marijuana does, or THC specifically does, is it causes shifting in attention. And so it activates a part of your brain that makes you pay attention. However, it activates it kind of at random times. And that's why I swear one of the kids in carpool was stoned the other day coming home from middle school because he was just like laughing hysterically at everything. Dude, you eat some gummy bears at lunch or something? And the reason is because why would you immediately find something so hilariously funny? Well, because your attention radically shifts, and if it hypervigilates or hyperfocuses on something that you think is funny, it becomes infinitely more funny. If you're watching a piece of dust float around, it becomes infinitely more interesting because your brain hyperfocuses on particular things. The problem is if you have attention deficit and you smoke marijuana, what happens? Yeah, I know, but what you can't focus at all. Because you keep shifting your focus. So hypervigilance, 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 hypervigilance. Yeah, it's very ADHD and I almost said meth. And meth is never good. Meth actually helps ADHD, but that's irrelevant. They give Dexedrine, which is a methamphetamine, to people with. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so I'll get this put away here in a little bit. What I want to do is, you all watch that Connectome video? Yeah, it's more than cool. I mean, to me, the Connectome video is, well, these are pictures from the Connectome project. This is just a picture of, remember they said you're going to take a slice of brain, and then they're going to color one neuron in one color, and then color another neuron another color, and then start slicing it apart? These are the kind of images what they find. A single neuron can start way down in the brain and grow all the way up to the top of the brain. The tops of the brains, there's little tiny neurons at the top of the brain that connect all those branches together. And so, in this class, we're going to be talking about a little bit of brain. We're going to talk about it today, and I burned about a half an hour with this thing, but is this thing cool? Yeah, it's totally neat. So we're going to get Luis, one of my TAs, well, no, he's one of my TAs this semester. I didn't want to call him a tutor today because... but he's one of my TAs. I'm going to train him to be able to do at least 7 keystrokes. And once we get this thing up to running at full speed, once we train him on it, he can do 7 different keystrokes. And it turns out you can play Fortnite with 7 keys on the keyboard. So what are we going to have him do? Play Fortnite. And he's going to play Fortnite using the brain machine. Yeah, we're going to put him in the basic skin just because. Anyway, moving on. So, Fortnite humor. Okay. It's a noob skin and yeah. Okay, so it's funny. Okay, so we wanted to have him drive a racing car initially. And I thought that would have been really cool, but this computer doesn't have a graphics card able to play Forza. It said, I'm sorry, your computer's too stupid to play my cool racing game. But with the brain-machine interface, if you had a fast enough computer, you could actually drive one of the cars through Forza. Yeah, because if you think about you can learn to move the cube left and right, and you can make it move forward and back, and there's your turn left and right, brake, and accelerate. But the guy who gave me this worked at the San Diego Supercomputer. And he worked because he wanted to fly through data. Oh, I don't know who Brianna is, but come on. Okay, so I'm just going to download this really quickly. So I asked you to fill this out, right? Sort of? I gave it to you? I have more if you don't have one. Okay? Now that I said that the pen works, let's see if it actually does still work. Okay, so I'm going to make this brain just a little bit smaller. Oh, didn't maintain aspect ratio. So I'm going to write a little bit on here. Okay. So we don't really need to watch that. So part one. Where do most of the sensors on this thing, where do they sit? Yeah. Yes. Yep. You're 15, 10 minutes. Okay. So why is it nice to have a coloring page? She's got it. Sorry to put you to work. Watch out for the third step. Okay. Why is it nice to have a coloring page? Wow, a lot of people didn't get it. Okay. Well, it's fun to color. I like coloring. But it turns out that in your brain, you remember colors very quickly. Unless you're colorblind. Then you don't. Whatever. Okay? Careful. And so when you think about this, if you colored the brain, can you remember what things you colored what color? Yes. Even though you can't remember the name, because the name's stored in a different part of your brain, you connect the color with the name. If you think of the color first, the name comes up. Think of that connectome picture. Wherever it went. Think of this picture. Your brain can remember what colors the parts were almost immediately because you have a whole part of your brain dedicated to color. The same thing is when you try to remember something, go back. When you try to remember something, it's really important to try to attach as many different ideas to that same thing as possible. The more things you connect, the easier it is to remember. Okay, so number one. Why were all these electrodes on the frontal lobe? What does the frontal lobe do? Here's the entire frontal lobe right here. What does it do? Someone got it. I must have looked it up. Go ahead. Are you raising your hand? Come on, I called on you. Okay. Say it louder. Someone said it. Louder. Yay. Your frontal lobe is your behavior. Whatever you do is in your frontal lobe. Whatever you do. Okay, so your behavior is here. There's a part of your, this is really cool, the part of your motor cortex causes muscle twitching. It causes muscle twitching. So how do you actually move? Oh, come on. You do what to your muscles? Twitch them. If you have a single muscle twitch, anybody had the cool eyebrow twitch? Yeah, it's usually causing too much caffeine, just saying. So irritating. What's happening is that single muscle is firing without any reason or purpose. I get those sometimes in my legs. If I have a really heavy leg day, I'll be sitting there later and my leg just goes go, 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 go. And that's just basically the muscle's fatigued and the neurons are just sending electrical signals in your muscle itself. Okay? So the motor cortex is right up here. Every neuron here is attached to a muscle downstream. Every single neuron in the motor cortex is attached to a muscle. So if I were to find the motor cortex where your hand is, and I zap it with an electric fork, what would your hand do? Twitch. It wouldn't move, it would twitch. Just like a little spasm. So if I wanted to do something that's like athletic, like picking up kettlebells. We're having a competition at the gym right now. Where is it? Oh, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. So the challenge is, not want the sound of me huffing and puffing and being obnoxious. Okay, the object is to put this over your head 100 times. Okay? And so it's called a snatch. This is like one of my favorite kettlebell exercises. It's just fun. It's really funny when you watch my poor right arm not know what to do. Nah, it just kind of floats around out there. But watch my left arm. My left arm's got skills. So basically, let's zip forward a little bit. You really don't need to see everyone. Look at my left arm. Yeah, exactly. I was thinking I should, okay. So what's funny about this, so why is my left arm moving around like that? No. It's balancing. So I'm not really thinking about my arm, and you actually watch my right arm. Every so often I'll think, there you go. Because you're supposed to keep your arms together as you're doing this so that you maintain balance. My right arm really tries, but it's really strange. And I'll lose my balance here in a second, and you get to see my arm shoot out. But again, so it's awesome. Okay, it's so much fun. Now the goal is to see how fast you can do, 100. And so you do 20 on each arm, then 15 on each arm, and then suffer till you get to 100. That's generally the goal. And at some point, I'm stopping for a minute to breathe as an old person. Okay, but not good, not great. It's not my best time, but it was pretty good. Okay, but the idea of, if you want to do that exercise, is there a lot of muscle twitches that need to occur? Yeah. So you have to have what's called a motor program. Oops. You are no longer allowed to use the word muscle memory. You can't say that anymore. In this class, we use the word motor program. A motor program is a series of muscle twitches. It's a series of muscle twitches. So the frontal lobe has motor programs in it. They're a series of muscle twitches. They're actually stored somewhere between the orbital prefrontal cortex and the motor cortex. So when you want to think about something simple, like walking, how do you walk? You don't actually move your legs. You just lean forward. And what happens? You walk. Last week we did lots of squats on Monday. So Wednesday, when I tried to just walk, what happened? Waddle, 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 waddle. Why was I waddling? My legs are really sore. So every time I bent my knees, my quads would go, ow. And so I had to do the official waddle. Pretty much my right Achilles always hurts. And so a lot of times you'll see me step the first 1 or 2 steps, I limp on it, and then I realize I'm limping, and then I don't limp on it. Because it turns out that the more you limp, the more injuries you get. So if you walk normally with pain, you'll heal faster than if you limp to avoid pain. Kind of stupid, but one of my students 2 years ago, she's walking across campus like this. I'm like, oh, did you hurt your ankle? She goes, well, I broke it a couple years ago. I'm like, why are you still limping? I don't know. Why did she limp? Motor program. She learned to limp. We can't use psychosomatic in here because in this part of the class, because what are we studying? The brain. No, it's okay. It's hard because you've taken the physio class. So you're like, oh, I got this, and let's move on. So the idea that the motor program is just a sequence of muscle twitches. That's why your coach has you dribble the basketball between cones, dribble a stupid soccer ball between cones. My son's one of my favorite comments is, but there's no cones on the soccer field. Why do we have to do this? What are you actually training? Don't say muscles. You're training motor programs. Anybody ever play futsal, the indoor soccer on the tennis courts? Or not tennis courts, but on the basketball courts? You have to be a really good ball handler in order to do that. Because in a field, you can kick the ball and it slows down at some point. But on a basketball court, you kick the ball and it just goes at the same speed. It doesn't slow down until it's out of bounds. And so if you miss just a little bit, the ball's gone. So it really teaches you how to control the ball. And people that play that indoor kind of soccer, not on the indoor turf, but actually in a basketball court, have so much better ball handling skills because you're rewarded for having better feet. Okay, so motor programs, again, this is a whole chapter in my physio-psych textbook, just talking about motor programs. Okay, but for you, we need to remember the other part called the orbital prefrontal cortex, which I'm going to color in sparkly because it's magical. You'll hear every time we talk about psychiatric disorders in class, people always use the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that all psychiatric disorders seem to have in common. Because the orbital prefrontal cortex is planning. Putting some other words in here that help you remember this. The orbital prefrontal cortex is planning. It's what you're going to do next. It's how you make a choice. Common sense are people that just make good choices. I mean, really, just if you think about it, well, it's common sense. Shut up, I made a stupid choice. Okay. But so when you say common sense, that means that you're paying attention to the world around you. Or street smart, you're paying attention to the environment around you. If you're paying attention to the environment around you, you choose the motor program that's most appropriate. So what's interesting about this orbital prefrontal cortex is this is where your personality is. This is where you are, sort of. Because this is how you project yourself into the world. What if I were to cut out the orbital prefrontal cortex? You act like a 2-year-old. 2-year-olds don't have a prefrontal cortex, yeah. Yeah, so it turns out that your left and right side of your brains have completely different personalities. Not like Sybil and like being super nice, friendly person here and super like cray-cray psychotic boots wearing person over here. That looks good in the movie. Well, what you have is, it's still you, but you have two different ways of looking at the world. And if concussions are very scary, if you get a major concussion, do not get hit in the head again. There's a girl at San Diego State that was a soccer player. Her Fred slammed her head in the trunk of a car like the day before practice started. You know, it's how friends are. And so because her head got a really major concussion, she didn't tell anybody because it's the first day of college soccer practice. She went up and headed a ball and major brain hemorrhage because of that concussion. Anybody who's ever had a good bruise and your friends walk up and go in it, that's what friends are for. My son has bruises on his knees from basketball all the time. He falls down. She didn't die, but she was permanently brain damaged. So she was permanently hospitalized. So it's one of those things like concussions are really scary. And so can they damage the brain? Yes. That's a lot of the TBI research is looking at, is that if you notice a lot of the football players from the 70s and 80s have major TBI. Everybody know the reason? What did a lot of football players use a lot of in the 70s and 80s? Steroids. Yeah. There's a lot of steroids. It was really big. In my sport, track and field, a lot of guys used a lot of steroids back then because they weren't testing for it. So, if I could take a drug to get bigger and faster and stronger, what do? Take it because it's not illegal. Until it became illegal, then you really like the result, so you hide it. Okay, but the last discus, the people that won the discus in the Olympics in the last like five or so Olympics, most of them have tested positive for steroids. Nice sport. Okay, so that's right. As soon as I'm old enough, I'll be able to get them just for being old. Okay. Okay, sorry. So getting a concussion, depending on where the concussion is. So what if it does damage the prefrontal cortex? You can't plan or think or move ahead. Now, what's interesting is your left and right side both have different ideas of what you should do. Your left side pays attention to the big picture, like the whole thing, the gestalt is your right side. Your left side pays attention to your own personal self and path. So if you damage the right side, what do you lose? No, not yourself. The big picture, like the big meaning behind things. So you see people with damage to the right prefrontal cortex, so if their concussion was up here, they start making choices that are very short-sighted. And people say they have impulse control problems because they can't think of the big picture. Other people who get damage to the left side have hard time seeing themselves in the situation. So they make these big global decisions, but they can't process themselves into that big global decision. So there's another, anybody ever heard, we'll get there in a second because it's off the bottom of the screen. But I'll just do it now. So there's a part of your brain called the auditory cortex, which is down here. Temporal lobe, auditory cortex. Guess what that one is? It's where you hear. It's where language is. Okay, so if you're getting, sorry, I keep pointing at you for discussion or concussions, but if you get a really hard concussion on the side of your head, it's called getting your bell rung. Anybody ever had their bell rung? Yeah, you get hit really hard, clunk, and you hear this, ooh. Like, what is that? It'll go away. Guess what you just damaged? Your auditory cortex. There's something called tinnitus. Okay, tinnitus is where you hear a frequency at all times. Ooh. And it's very irritating. What that is one neuron or a group of neurons in your auditory cortex is firing. Your auditory cortex is lined up like notes on a piano. Watch this. All right, I got an attention span of a gnat. Is it on here? No, it's not on here. Maybe it's in here. GoPro videos? No. Okay. I have a video of a little kid. The kid's about 3 years old. And they ask him, so, can you tell me about a birthday party? The 3-year-old goes, cake! And then goes, ah. But if you ask him questions about a birthday party, can he figure it out? Yeah. But if you just say, what do you do at a birthday party? He can't organize his thoughts to tell you the story. By the time the kid's 5, they can organize their thoughts and tell you a story. By the time the kid's 8, they can only tell you a story, they can make up a story, fabricate a story, and come up with 6 different hypothetical endings to that story. Welcome to prefrontal cortex. Okay? So what's great about this is the motor cortex is where you plan what you're going to do next. It's directly involved with your thoughts, but the thoughts come from the temporal lobe, coolio. Okay, so where are you then? Where's yourself? It's right here. It's your parietal lobe. All your sensory neurons in your body go to the sensory cortex. Now, I'm not talking about sight, or I'm not talking about smell or hearing. I'm talking about physical sensation. All your body goes to the parietal lobe. All sensory neurons in your body go to the parietal lobe. Your face is huge in your parietal lobe. Does your face have a lot of sensory neurons? Yes. It really hurts to get hit in the face. It really doesn't hurt to get hit in your back. Unless it's a flat 5-star, but that's okay. My son is getting stronger, and he's realized that if I hit Dad when he's not paying attention, it hurts him. Yeah, so it's, anybody watch the old Pink Panther movies with Kato. I have to attack him at all times to maintain his sharpness. That's my son right now. I got him with my shoe, though. He hit me, ran away. Took my shoe off. Got it. Knocked him down. Ha ha! There were these, though. These are not heavy. I'm going to wear bands next time. I'll get him. I'll take him down. Okay. He's going to be bigger than me soon, so I got to take it now while I can. Okay. But your sensory nerves in your body are pretty... They're a map. Why would I put my sensory nerves in my body? I'm going to color this in this gold color. Here's your parietal lobe. Whoa. Okay, start again. Here is your parietal lobe. That's where the sensory nerves in your body, that's where you feel your body. There's a very crazy disorder called alien limb syndrome. Alien limb syndrome is you look down at your hand, you go, that's not my hand. You move it and you go, someone else is in control of my hand. There's a great Grey's Anatomy episode where the guy chops his foot off because he believes it's not his foot. Yeah. Ugh. Okay, I hate those shows. But this is caused by usually damage to the parietal lobe. Even though you can feel something, you don't feel connected to yourself. Therefore, it feels alien hand syndrome. There was I was listening to a podcast this weekend, actually. I hate it when I get stuck listening to nerd music on the weekend. And it was anyway, but it was, nerd music is podcast, by the way. Just in case you hear people talking about nerd music. When you listen to an interesting podcast about aerospace, it's nerd music. Got it. Anyway, this one was about the brain, because I found it interesting. But a woman believed that her left hand belonged to her mom. It was her mom's left hand because it looked like her mom's left hand. It wasn't hers, but she also had a stroke in her right parietal lobe. Because she had a stroke in her right parietal lobe, she looks at her hand and doesn't see it as hers. She sees it as someone else's. Wow. Kind of weird. Okay, so there's something else that's even weirder. You have neurons called mirror neurons. I'm going to color these in rainbow sparkles. Which really is kind of yellow, so I'm going to just color it over here. The rainbow happens to be that color at that point. Okay, so these are called mirror neurons. They are the same as sensory neurons in the body, except what do they respond to? They're very similar to the sensory neurons, except they respond to seeing and not actually feeling. So they connect visual systems to your sensory systems. So if I stand up here and start telling you the story of when we went to Knott's Berry Farm, my son, we found out, had lice. So everybody who went to Knott's Berry Farm that day and rode the same roller coasters that he rode had probably got lice as well. So why are you starting to itch? You mess with your hair, you mess with your hair, they mess with their hair. The longer I talk about lice and the more I do this, what happens? Your mirror neurons are activating the sensory neurons in your hair. And the longer as soon as I stop talking about it, everybody starts itching. If you're ever bored standing in line, just do that. Don't be like this, but what you can do is, does that spread? How come it spreads? Well, 8 o'clock in the morning, A. B, it's because you have these neurons. Last thing before we run away, kids with autism don't have these mirror neurons the same way. So why do they have a hard time relating to other people? It's not that they can't see, they can't feel the other person's perspective. No, they don't. They usually can't feel what someone else is thinking. So they are, a lot of kids with autism, every kid with autism is different. So you can't just say all kids with autism are. But what happens is they don't naturally activate their mirror neurons. So if someone's standing next to them feeling uncomfortable, you don't immediately get the vibe they're feeling uncomfortable. My friend's son used to think that everybody loves back rubs, so he would just come up and give random people back rubs. Because who doesn't like back rubs? And all of a sudden some person comes up and starts giving you a back rub. But anyway, so I'm going to save this and we'll start this next class. Now I'm going to stop the recording so I don't record my backpack going up to my office.